You've been trained to look at everyone else, to watch their success, compare yourself, copy their habits. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you that's the fastest way to lose yourself. If you really want to rebuild your life, you must stop chasing others and start rebuilding the only person you can truly control. Every single day, you're surrounded by noise, other people's opinions, expectations, and judgments. It's easy to get lost in it, to start shaping your life around what others are doing or thinking. But that is a trap. You can't build a strong, lasting life on someone else's blueprint. Today, we're going deep into the principles of focusing on yourself, mentally, emotionally, and practically. This is not about selfishness. It's about self-mastery. It's about stepping back from the crowd so you can see clearly who you really are, what you really want, and how to rebuild from the inside out. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to stop letting the world pull your attention in 100 directions, and instead channel all your energy into becoming the kind of person you want to be. Every single day, stop measuring your life by someone else's ruler. The greatest thief in life is not the one who takes your wallet, but the one who convinces you to measure your worth by their standard. Every day, people hand away their peace and their power because they have accepted a false measuring stick. They see the glossy images on a screen, the curated victories, the smiling faces posed for a moment that hides the truth behind it. They look at the vacations, the new houses, the expensive cars, and they decide quietly, without even realizing, that their own life is somehow less. They forget that what they are seeing is not reality, but a staged performance. The person smiling in that picture may be drowning in debt. The person showing off their success may be battling personal struggles they'll never share. Yet here you are, holding your life against theirs as though the comparison is fair. It is not. The tragedy is that this habit of comparison has been trained into you from the earliest days. In school, you were measured by grades compared to classmates. In sports, you were measured by trophies compared to others. In social circles, you were measured by popularity, again against others. At no point were you taught to measure yourself against yourself, to compete only with the person you were yesterday. And so, without noticing, you carried this into adulthood. Now you measure your progress against people who have walked a different path, faced different challenges, and played by different rules. And when you measure against someone walking a completely different journey, you will always come up short because you were never meant to be them in the first place. The real danger of using someone else's ruler is that it blinds you to your own growth. Imagine a seed planted in rich soil. It begins to grow, sending roots deep and pushing shoots toward the sunlight. But right next to it, another plant shoots up faster, taller, fuller. If the first plant starts looking sideways instead of upward, it might stop pushing, stop stretching. It might decide it is already a failure before it has even reached its full height. That is what happens to you when you obsess over someone else's pace. You stop running your own race. There is only one comparison worth making between who you were yesterday and who you are today. If you are even slightly wiser, more disciplined, more focused than you were before, you are winning. That is progress. That is growth. It may not be flashy. It may not get likes or applause, but it is real. And real growth is the only kind worth chasing. You must understand that every person you compare yourself to has their own private timeline, shaped by opportunities and obstacles you cannot see. Some start the race with a head start. Others carry invisible weights. Some are sprinting for a short distance. Others are running a marathon. You might be looking at someone in the middle of their highlight moment while you are still in the training stage. And if you quit now, you'll never know what your highlight could have been. When you stop measuring your life by someone else's ruler, something powerful happens. You begin to notice your own victories. You realize that while someone else bought a house, you finally paid off a debt. While someone else traveled to 5 countries, you learned a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life. You stop seeing yourself as behind and start seeing yourself as becoming. This shift is not small. It is life-changing, because the minute you free yourself from the constant exhausting chase to keep up, you can finally start moving forward at your own speed. Ask yourself this: if the world had no way to show off success, no social media, no bragging rights, what would you do with your life? What would make you proud? What would give you peace? That is your ruler. That is the only standard worth following. Forget the timelines set by society. Forget the comparison to people whose lives you don't truly know. Instead, measure each day by the progress you make in building the life you truly want. And remember, no ruler in the world can measure the depth of your courage, the strength of your perseverance, or the richness of your character. These are the real measures of a life well lived, and they can never be compared on a public scoreboard. When you keep your eyes on your own path, the noise fades, the pressure lifts, and you can finally see how far you have truly come. That is when you realize you were never behind. You were simply running a different race. The Daily Mirror Test. Every morning, without fail, you face the most honest reflection you will ever see. Not in the opinions of others, not in the numbers in your bank account, but in the mirror. The mirror does not lie. It does not flatter you with empty praise. It does not judge you by your possessions or your status. It simply reflects the person you have built, day by day, choice by choice. Most people glance at it only long enough to fix their hair, straighten their clothes, and prepare a mask for the world. But the mirror offers you more than that. It offers you a daily truth check. If you are brave enough to take it, the question is simple, but it cuts deep. Am I proud of the person I am becoming? Not just proud of what I've achieved, not just proud of what I own, but proud of the person I am. This question is uncomfortable because it bypasses the image you present to others and goes straight to the reality you live with when you're alone. It ignores the shallow victories and looks at the real victories: integrity, discipline, kindness, resilience. The reason this question matters is because it forces you to take responsibility for the direction of your life. Most people drift through their days, reacting to circumstances. They wake up, follow routines set by habit, and end the day no different than they began it. But when you face the mirror with this question, you cannot drift. You must decide. If the answer is yes, you reinforce your momentum. If the answer is no, you have a chance to correct your course before another day slips by wasted. The beauty of the Daily Mirror Test is that it resets your focus every morning. Yesterday's failures don't have to bleed into today. Yesterday's laziness doesn't have to poison the hours ahead. When you wake up and see yourself, you are given a choice. Repeat the patterns that make you ashamed, or create the actions that will make you proud. This choice is yours alone, and no one can make it for you. Think of the mirror as a silent mentor. It doesn't shout. It doesn't scold. It simply reflects the truth you already know. And if you learn to listen to that truth without excuses, you gain the power to change. You begin to see that the life you want is not built in grand gestures, but in small daily decisions. The mirror knows if you kept your promises to yourself. It knows if you did the work you said you would. It knows if you lived according to your values or if you betrayed them for comfort or convenience. Over time, the Daily Mirror Test becomes less about guilt and more about pride. You start to notice that each honest yes builds confidence, not arrogance, but the quiet confidence of someone who is living in alignment with their own values. And on the days when the answer is no, you see it not as a defeat, but as a challenge, a reminder that tomorrow can be different if you choose differently today. The real gift of the mirror is that it makes your growth visible to the one person who truly matters. You. Others may not see the hours you put into learning, the moments you resisted temptation, the times you acted with courage when it would have been easier to stay silent. But you see it. And when you can meet your own eyes each morning knowing you are becoming the person you set out to be, you no longer need the approval of the world. You are living for something deeper. So tomorrow morning when you stand in front of the mirror, don't just check your appearance. Look yourself in the eyes and ask the question. If the answer is no, don't carry the shame. Carry the determination. If the answer is yes, carry the momentum. Either way, let that reflection be your guide for the day ahead. Because the mirror never lies and the person staring back at you is the only one who can build the life you dream of. Protect your mental real estate. Your mind is a most valuable property you will ever own, yet most people treat it as if it were an open lot, where anyone can dump whatever they please. Imagine buying a beautiful home, carefully built over years, and then leaving the doors unlocked and the windows wide open for strangers to wander in. Some would bring filth, some would scratch the walls, some would take what they wanted without asking, and before long the home you had worked so hard to create would be unrecognizable. That is what happens when you fail to guard your mind. Every moment you are alive, there are forces, some intentional, some careless, that are trying to influence how you think, what you value, and even what you believe about yourself. If you are not intentional, you will wake up one day living by thoughts and standards that were never really yours. Most people do not even realize it is happening. They believe their thoughts are their own, but the reality is that most of those thoughts have been planted by outside voices, friends, coworkers, television, news headlines, endless scrolling on social media. Every story, every opinion, every image enters your mental space and takes up residence. And here is the truth. The mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant there will grow. If you allow weeds of doubt, fear, envy, and anger to take root, they will spread until they choke out the healthy growth you are trying to nurture. But if you plant ideas that inspire, challenge, and strengthen you, your mind will produce confidence, creativity, and determination. The choice of what grows is yours, but only if you take control of what you allow inside. Think about the conversations you engage in. When you sit with people who speak only of problems, gossip about others, or fill the air with negativity, you are not just passing time, you are allowing them to repaint the walls of your mental home. Little by little, their words shape your mood, your outlook, and eventually your decision. You might walk away thinking their influence was harmless, but you will notice that your energy is lower, your hope is weaker, and your vision for your own future feels clouded. This is the silent danger of unguarded mental real estate. It doesn't collapse in one moment, it erodes over time. Guarding your mind does not mean living in isolation or ignoring the realities of the world. It means being selective about what earns your attention. Just as you would not feed your body with spoiled food, you must refuse to feed your mind with spoiled information. Ask yourself, does this strengthen me? Does it inspire me? Does it teach me something worth knowing? If the answer is no, then it does not belong in your mental home. This applies to what you read, what you watch, who you talk to, and even what you allow yourself to dwell on in your private thoughts. One of the most overlooked aspects of mental protection is the discipline of focus. The human mind is easily distracted, and in a world designed to steal your attention every few seconds, this is no accident. Every distraction you entertain comes at the cost of depth. You may think you are multitasking, but in truth, you are fragmenting your mental power into pieces so small they can no longer build anything of real value. Protecting your mental real estate means giving your full attention to the things that matter most. When you are reading, read deeply. When you are learning, engage fully. When you are planning, shut out the noise and think clearly. This level of focus is rare, which is why those who master it stand out in every field. The most powerful minds in history did not reach their potential by accident. They were fiercely protective of what they allowed into their thoughts. They understood that the mind, once corrupted with doubt or distraction, becomes its own enemy. And so they created boundaries, sometimes physical, sometimes social, always mental, to ensure that their focus remained sharp and their vision unclouded. This is what you must do if you want to rebuild yourself into the person you are capable of becoming. You cannot afford to let just anyone shape your thinking. When you begin to guard your mental real estate, you will notice a shift. You will have more energy because your mind is no longer weighed down with clutter. You will think more clearly because you have removed the static. You will feel more confident because your thoughts are aligned with your goals instead of scattered by the chaos around you. This is not a small change, it is a transformation. but it requires vigilance. The same way a house must be maintained, cleaned, and protected from intruders, your mind must be cared for daily. Every morning, you have a fresh chance to decide what enters your mental state. You can choose to open the day with gratitude and focus, or you can choose to hand over your first thoughts to whatever the world throws at you. One choice will strengthen you. The other will weaken you. Choose carefully. Your mind is the foundation on which your entire life is built. Protect it as if your future depends on it, because it does. The power of saying no without guilt. There is a quiet word that holds more power over your life than almost any other, yet most people are too afraid to use it. That word is no. It is small, but it is sharp. It can cut away the unnecessary, the harmful, and the distracting. It can protect your time, your focus, and your energy. And yet, too often, people avoid it because they fear it will disappoint someone, offend someone, or make them seem selfish. The truth is the opposite. The inability to say no is what weakens you, because every time you say yes to something that does not serve you, you are saying no to your own growth. The reason most people struggle to say no is that they have been conditioned to seek approval. From an early age, you were rewarded for compliance, for doing what was asked, for agreeing to what others wanted, for putting their needs before your own. This is not always wrong. Kindness and cooperation are important. But when taken to the extreme, it trains you to value other people's comfort above your own priorities. You become a servant to everyone's requests but your own dreams. If you are serious about rebuilding yourself, you must understand that your time is not infinite. Every hour you spend is a piece of your life you can never get back. If you give it away carelessly, you will one day look back and realize you were busy for years, but you were never building the life you truly wanted. You must learn or guard your time with the same vigilance that a master craftsman guards his tools, because without it, your work, your purpose, and your potential will be lost. Saying no does not make you unkind. It makes you clear. It makes you honest. It says to the world, I know what I am building, and I will not be pulled off course. This kind of clarity is rare, which is why it is often misunderstood. People who benefit from your constant yes will not always celebrate your new boundaries. They may try to make you feel guilty, as if choosing your own priorities is an act of betrayal. Do not fall for this. Understand that every person is responsible for managing their own life, just as you are responsible for managing yours. You are not obligated to sacrifice your goals so that others can avoid discomfort. The true power of no lies in what it creates room for. Every time you say no to something unimportant, you are saying yes to something deeply important. Time to think, time to create, time to rest, time to grow. These are the things that build a strong and meaningful life, yet they are the first to be sacrificed when you let every request, invitation, and distraction into your schedule. There will be moments when saying no feels difficult. It will require courage. But remember this, the people who respect you will understand, and those who do not respect you will find another way to take advantage of your time if you let them. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that decide who and what comes in. Without them, your life will be overrun with obligations that leave no room for the things that truly matter. When you master the power of no, you will notice that your days feel different. You will no longer feel rushed from one thing to the next. You will have the mental space to focus on your work without distraction. You will have the energy to give your best to the things you choose, instead of giving a fraction of yourself to everything that comes your way. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. It is the wise use of the one resource you can never renew, your time. The ability to say no without guilt is a skill, and like any skill, it gets easier with practice. Start small. Decline something that does not align with your goals. Notice how it frees your time and your mind. Then do it again. Over time, you will find that saying no is not an act of rejection, it is an act of self-respect. And with that respect comes freedom. The freedom to choose where you give your energy, the freedom to build the life you want, and the freedom to live without the weight of obligations that do not belong to you. Your life will always be filled with opportunities, requests, and demands. Some will be worth your yes, but most will not. The difference between those who drift and those who build is that builders choose their yes carefully. They understand that every no is not a closing of a door, but the opening of a better one. If you can learn this truth and live it, you will not only protect your focus, you will protect your future. Small wins build big change. When people talk about changing their life, they often speak in terms of big, sweeping transformations. They imagine a single dramatic moment that flips the switch, a sudden breakthrough, an instant success, a total reinvention overnight. This is why so many start strong and quit quickly. They believe they have to move mountains in a single day, and when the mountain doesn't budge, they declare themselves failures and walk away. The truth is that great change is rarely born out of one massive effort. Instead, it comes from the quiet, repeated actions that may look small today but compound into something powerful tomorrow. Think of a river carving its path through stone. It does not arrive with a single explosive wave. It shapes the rock drop by drop, day after day, year after year, until what was once unyielding becomes smooth and transformed. This is how you must think about rebuilding yourself. The actions may be so small they feel almost meaningless. A few minutes of reading, a short exercise, a single healthy choice in your diet, one moment of gratitude before bed. These small wins may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they create momentum. And momentum is the force that turns a weak foundation into something unshakable. The power of small wins is not just in the results they bring, but in the identity they shape. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you are proving something to yourself, that you can be trusted to keep your word. That trust builds confidence, and confidence builds discipline. Discipline, when practiced daily, becomes second nature. You no longer have to force yourself to take the small steps. They become who you are. You start to see yourself not as someone who is trying to change, but as someone who does the things that lead to change. That shift in identity is worth more than any instant result. Small wins also bypass the mental resistance that big goals often trigger. If you tell yourself you must overhaul your entire life in 1 week, your mind rebels. It sees the task as impossible, and you end up paralyzed before you begin. But if you tell yourself to read just 10 pages today, to walk for 15 minutes, to write down 3 things you're grateful for, your mind says, I can do that. You do it once, then again, then again. Before long, you have built habits so strong that they carry you forward even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Another advantage of small wins is that they create a chain you will want to protect. Imagine committing to one simple action every day, and then seeing the streak grow 10 days, 30 days, 90 days. The longer you keep it going, the more you resist breaking it. That is momentum at work. Once you have built it, it becomes harder to stop than to keep going. This is why you must choose your small wins carefully. They must be actions that, repeated over time, will move you toward the life you want. There is also a hidden benefit. Small wins compound in unexpected ways. The person who starts by reading 10 pages a day may over time read hundreds of books that transform their thinking, open new opportunities, and build expertise they never imagined. The person who begins with a short daily workout might find themselves stronger, more energetic, and more confident, leading them to pursue goals they would have once avoided. Small wins plant seeds that grow into outcomes you cannot predict at the start. Do not underestimate the patience this requires. In the early days, you may not see much change. It will be tempting to abandon the process because the results are not dramatic. But remember, the point is not to win in a day. The point is to win for the rest of your life. The habits you build now through small, deliberate actions will carry you through when the initial excitement fades. They will be the foundation you can stand on when challenges come, because they are built into your daily life. When you truly understand the power of small wins, you stop searching for shortcuts. You stop chasing the miracle transformation. Instead, you focus on doing the small things well every day without fail. You trust that the process will take you where you need to go, and in time, you look back and realize the small wins have become massive victories. Not because you did something extraordinary once, but because you did something simple consistently. That is how lasting change is built. Detach from the outcome. One of the most common reasons people give up on their goals is not that they lack the ability to achieve them, but that they expect instant results. They start a new project and expect it to explode with success in days. They go to the gym for 2 weeks and expect a transformation in the mirror. When the results do not appear on their schedule, they declare the effort wasted and move on. This obsession with immediate rewards is poison to long-term growth because it shifts your focus from the work itself to the scoreboard, and the scoreboard rarely changes as quickly as you want it to. If you want to rebuild yourself, you must learn to fall in love with the process, not the outcome. The outcome will come, but not on your timeline. Success has its own schedule, and it cannot be forced. When you attach your motivation to results you cannot fully control, you give away your power. Your effort rises and falls with every small sign of progress or lack of it. But when you focus on the process, you keep your power because you can always control what you do today. Detaching from the outcome does not mean abandoning goals. It means recognizing that the only part of the journey you truly control is the work you put in right now. You cannot decide exactly when the seeds you plant will grow, but you can decide to water them daily. You cannot force the world to recognize your work immediately, but you can choose to keep improving it until it is undeniable. This is the mindset that separates those who succeed from those who quit too soon. When you detach from the outcome, you free yourself from the constant emotional swings that kill momentum. If you base your motivation on instant feedback, every setback feels like proof you should stop. Every delay feels like a failure. But if you base your motivation on the pride of doing the work, the setbacks do not break you. They simply become part of the process. You keep going not because you have already won, but because you know the act of continuing will lead to victory in time. There is a deep peace that comes with this mindset. You stop rushing, you stop comparing your progress to others, you stop looking for the fastest way and start building the best way. You become patient, and in that patience you develop a quiet confidence that is unshakable. You know that if you keep showing up, if you keep doing the work with integrity and focus, the outcome will take care of itself. Some will call this blind faith, but it is not. It is discipline. It is the understanding that growth is not always visible in the early stages. Think of a tree in winter. On the surface it may look dead, but beneath the ground the roots are growing deeper, preparing for the season to come. The work you do today may not show on the outside yet, but it is building the roots of your future success. If you quit because you cannot see the results, you are cutting down the tree before it has a chance to bear fruit. Detaching from the outcome also removes the fear of failure. When you are obsessed with results, failure feels like the end. But when you focus on the process, failure is simply feedback, a lesson you can use to improve. You stop avoiding challenges because you are no longer terrified of what will happen if you do not win instantly. You embrace challenges because you know every attempt, successful or not, moves you forward. The irony is that when you stop chasing the outcome so desperately, it often arrives faster. Why? Because your energy is no longer wasted on worrying, comparing, or second-guessing. Every ounce of your effort goes into the work itself, and quality work has a way of attracting results. The world rewards those who persist with focus and patience far more often than it rewards those who sprint and burn out. So let go of the need for instant proof. Stop checking the scoreboard every 5 minutes. Pour yourself into the process. Give your best to the work today and tomorrow and the day after that. Trust that consistent action will pay off, because it always does. And when the outcome finally arrives, you will not just have the result, you will have become the kind of person capable of achieving it again and again. Turn pain into fuel. Pain is life's most misunderstood teacher. People fear it, resent it, run from it, but they almost never sit with it long enough to learn what it's trying to teach. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to rebuild you. It's the fire that burns away everything you don't need, leaving behind only what's strong enough to survive. But most people don't see it that way. They experience rejection, betrayal, failure, and instead of drawing strength from it, they let it drain them. They label themselves as broken, unlucky, or doomed, and they miss the opportunity that pain was giving them all along. Think about the moments in your life when you were tested the hardest. Those nights when you couldn't sleep because you didn't know how you'd get through tomorrow. Those moments when you stood in front of a closed door that you thought would always be open. Those days when the people you counted on the most turned away from you. As much as you may hate to admit it, those were the moments that shaped you. They forced you to dig deeper than you ever thought you could. They pushed you to discover abilities you didn't even know you had. If everything had gone smoothly, you would never have grown into the person you are now. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. It forces you to face yourself without the comfort of excuses. When you're hurting, you see what really matters. You stop wasting time on what's shallow or fake because you simply don't have the energy for it. And if you choose to look at it through the right lens, you start to see that pain is not the enemy. It's the forge. A blacksmith doesn't shape steel by whispering to it. He shapes it by striking it again and again, heating it until it glows, pounding it until it's strong enough to hold its form. Life does the same to you. Every disappointment, every setback, every heartbreak is a strike of the hammer. It's uncomfortable, even unbearable at times, but it's how you're molded into something unbreakable. Most people don't understand that pain carries instructions. It's like a coded message telling you what you need to work on, what you need to let go of, what you need to change. But you have to be willing to listen. If you've been rejected, maybe life is telling you to stop relying on the approval of others. If you've failed, maybe life is showing you that your approach needs refining. If you've been betrayed, maybe it's time to raise your standards for the people you let into your life. Pain points to the weaknesses in your foundation, not to shame you, but to give you a chance to strengthen them. But here's the choice you have to make. You can let pain define you, or you can let it refine you. When you let it define you, you start carrying it like an identity. You become the person who was left, the one who failed, the one who was hurt, and that label becomes a prison. But when you let pain refine you, you use it as fuel. You channel it into action. You turn "I'll never recover" into "watch me come back stronger." You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Some of the most driven, disciplined, and powerful people you'll ever meet are the ones who have been through the most. Not because they were born strong, but because they learned to turn pain into energy. They understood something simple. If you can survive the worst days of your life, you can survive anything. And once you know that, you stop being afraid of the future. So the next time life knocks you down, don't just focus on the hit. Ask yourself what it's teaching you. Ask how you can use it. Let the rejection fuel your determination to prove yourself, not to the world, but to yourself. Let the heartbreak remind you that your heart is still alive and beating, capable of loving and felling. Let the failure sharpen your skills so that the next time you're unstoppable. Pain is going to come, whether you invite it or not. The only choice you truly have is what you'll do with it when it arrives. Will you let it crush you, or will you let it forge you into something that can't be broken? The circle that shapes you. No one rises alone. No one falls alone either. The people you spend the most time with are quietly, subtly shaping who you become. Every word they speak, every attitude they carry, every choice they make, it all leaves an imprint on you. You might think you're immune to influence, that you're your own person, but the truth is, we absorb more than we realize. The energy of your circle either fuels your growth or drains it. And when you're trying to rebuild yourself, the wrong circle can undo months, even years of progress in a matter of weeks. Think about your closest 5 people, not just the ones you love, but the ones you actually spend time with, the ones whose voices you hear in your head, even when they're not around. Are they pushing you to aim higher, or are they pulling you back into old habits? Do they get excited about your dreams, or do they roll their eyes and tell you to be realistic? Do they talk about ideas and possibilities, or do they spend most of their time talking about other people's business? These aren't small questions. They're the quiet forces that decide where you'll be 5 years from now. When you're around people who are ambitious, positive, and committed to growth, you naturally start to level up. Not because they force you, but because they raise the standard for what's normal. If everyone around you is reading, learning, improving their health, and pushing for better, it becomes harder for you to settle for less. On the other hand, if your circle is lazy, negative, or always complaining, you start to normalize that too. You begin to shrink your own vision to fit the limits of the people around you. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off the moment they show a flaw. It's not about building a perfect group, it's about being intentional. If someone's influence consistently pulls you away from your best self, you have to limit the space they occupy in your life. Protecting your circle is not an act of arrogance, it's an act of survival. The wrong people can sabotage your mindset without ever meaning to. Even well-meaning friends can talk you out of your dreams because they can't see the world the way you do. Building the right circle takes time and courage. It means seeking out people who are already where you want to be in some area of life, even if it makes you feel like the smallest person in the room at first. It means having the humility to learn from them and the confidence to contribute what you can. It also means letting go of the need to please everyone. Not everyone will understand why you're distancing yourself from certain habits, places, or people. That's okay. Your future is worth more than their approval. One of the most powerful changes you can make in your life is to simply change who you give your time to. If you spend your days around people who talk about progress, who take action, who push themselves, you'll start to absorb that energy. You'll think bigger, work harder, and see possibilities you never noticed before. But if you stay in a circle that resists growth, your potential will stay locked away. Your circle doesn't just affect your mindset, it affects your habits. If you want to be fit, spend time with people who value health. If you want to be financially free, spend time with people who understand money. If you want to be mentally strong, spend time with people who stay calm in chaos. It's not about copying them, it's about letting their example raise your standard. At some point, you'll realize that your environment is stronger than your willpower. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if your circle pulls you in the opposite direction every day, you'll eventually drift their way. That's why rebuilding yourself is not just about what you do, it's about who you allow close enough to influence you. Choose carefully, because the circle you keep will either help you become the person you're meant to be, or it will keep you chained to the person you're trying to outgrow. Rebuilding is a daily decision. Rebuilding yourself is not a single event. It is not a moment where you decide to change and then suddenly the rest of your life falls into place. People often believe that once they've turned a corner, the hard part is over. But the truth is, rebuilding is not a finish line. It is a road you walk every single day. Each morning when you wake up, you stand at a fork. One path takes you toward the person you want to be. The other takes you back toward the version you're trying to leave behind. There is no standing still. Every choice, every action, every thought moves you in one direction or the other. This is why so many people fall short. They think change is about one big leap, one dramatic transformation, and then the work is done. But real change is built in the quiet, ordinary moments. The times when no one is watching, when you could take the easy route, when you could slip back into old habits, and no one would notice. It's in those moments that you either strengthen the foundation you're building or weaken it. And because those moments happen every day, you must decide over and over again to keep building. Consider how a building is constructed. Laying the foundation is not enough. The work must continue, brick after brick, beam after beam, day after day. If the workers stop showing up, the structure remains unfinished, exposed to the elements, vulnerable to collapse. Your life is no different. Your new habits, your new mindset, your new vision for yourself, they need daily reinforcement. Skip too many days, and you'll find that what you built has started to crumble. This is where discipline becomes the deciding factor. Discipline is not about punishing yourself or forcing yourself into a rigid life with no joy. It's about making a conscious decision each day to honor your vision, even when it's inconvenient. You can't drift into the life you want. You must steer toward it with intention. If you don't, the current of old habits will carry you right back to where you started. Every choice you make is a vote. when you choose to eat in a way that fuels your body instead of drains it. You cast a vote for the person you want to be. When you choose to read a book instead of scrolling endlessly through distractions, you cast a vote for growth. When you choose to stay calm in the face of frustration, you cast a vote for self-mastery. And when you choose the opposite, when you let impulse guide you, you cast a vote for the old you. No single vote determines your destiny, but the accumulation of them over weeks, months, and years shapes the person you become. The reason so many people fail to sustain change is because they expect motivation to carry them. But motivation is like a spark. It flares up brightly and then fades. Discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire burning. Some days you will feel unstoppable, full of energy and focus. Other days you will feel tired, unmotivated, even hopeless. But the decision to rebuild is not based on how you feel. It's based on who you want to be. The most important days are the days when you don't feel like showing up, but you show up anyway. Those are the days when you strengthen your identity. Rebuilding yourself daily also requires awareness. You must constantly check in with yourself and ask, am I moving toward my vision or away from it? Am I thinking thoughts that build me up or tear me down? Am I surrounding myself with influences that lift me higher or drag me lower? Without awareness, you can drift into self-destruction without even realizing it. But when you stay alert, you can catch yourself early and make a different choice. The most liberating truth is that you can always start again. Even if you've made a string of bad choices, even if you've neglected your vision for weeks or months, the moment you decide to build again, you begin to reclaim your progress. The past only defines you if you let it. You are never more than one decision away from getting back on track. The key is not perfection, it's persistence. So every morning, before the noise of the world pulls you in 100 directions, take a moment to remember. Today, you're either building or breaking. The choice will be yours in every action, every word, every thought. And if you choose to build relentlessly, consistently, without excuse, one day you'll wake up inside the life you once only imagined, and you'll know it was not luck, not talent, not chance that got you there. It was the daily decision to keep moving forward. Your future self is watching. Imagine standing face to face with the person you hope to become in 5 years. Look them in the eyes. See the way they carry themselves, the way they speak, the way they move through the world. This person is stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more confident. They've built a life that reflects their values and desires. Now ask yourself, if they could see how you're living today, would they thank you or would they be disappointed? Would they be proud that you're laying the groundwork for their success, or would they shake their head because you've been neglecting them? The truth is, your future self is not a stranger. They are being shaped right now by everything you do. Your habits are molding them. Your choices are feeding or starving them. Your discipline or lack of it is either building their life or robbing them of it. Every time you choose the easier path today, you hand your future self a heavier burden. Every time you choose the harder but better path, you hand your future self a gift. Think of your life as a bridge you're building toward that future self. Every day you either lay down solid stones that will hold their weight, or you leave gaps that will make their crossing dangerous. The bridge cannot be built in one day. It is constructed in moments. The moment you resist a temptation, the moment you commit to a goal, the moment you push through when you want to quit. Each of those moments is a brick. Neglect enough of them and the bridge will never reach the other side. Your future self depends on you in ways you might not realize. The body they will live in is the body you are taking care of or neglecting right now. The bank account they will have is being filled or drained by your spending and saving habits today. The confidence they will carry is being forged or weakened by the risks you take and the promises you keep. This is not about guilt, it's about responsibility. You have the power to decide whether your future self inherits strength or struggle. Most people live as if their future self is someone they'll deal with later. They imagine that someday they'll magically become disciplined, healthy, and successful, even if they're not practicing those qualities now. But the future doesn't change you, it reveals you. It shows you the results of what you've been doing all along. If you want to meet a strong, capable, fulfilled version of yourself in 5 years, you must start being that person today, in small, consistent ways. There will be days when it feels easier to let things slide, days when you tell yourself you'll get serious tomorrow. But tomorrow is not a promise, it's an illusion. What you choose now echoes into your future louder than any intention you have for later. If you could feel the gratitude or disappointment of your future self right now, you would make different decisions. The most powerful way to stay accountable is to make that future self real in your mind. Picture them vividly, what they look like, how they feel about life, the way they think and speak. Carry that image with you, and before you make a decision, ask, will this choice make them stronger or weaker? Will it bring them closer to their dream life or push it further away? Over time, this habit becomes a compass, guiding you through distractions and temptations. Your future self is watching, but they're not just a silent observer. They are the accumulation of every version of you between now and then. Each day you live, you add another layer to them. You are either adding qualities they will thank you for, or flaws they will have to work to undo. The more you choose well today, the lighter their load will be. The more you choose poorly, the more you force them to fight battles you could have already won. One day, that future self will be your present self, and in that moment, there will be no rewinding, no negotiating with time. You will either be standing in the life you built with care and intention, or in the one you drifted into by default. That reality is being written now, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, except the one person who matters most. The version of you who is waiting on the other side of your decisions. Make them proud. Here's the real secret. Rebuilding yourself isn't about becoming someone new, it's about uncovering who you've always been. It's about removing the noise, the habits, and the distractions that have buried your true self under layers of expectation. When you focus on yourself every day, not in a selfish way, but in a disciplined way, you stop living life on autopilot. You start creating it. And when you reach that point, when your focus is locked on the person you're becoming, the opinions, trends, and chaos of the outside world lose their power over you. Every day is a brick. Every choice is a brick. What you build with them is up to you. You can spend your time stacking bricks into someone else's building, or you can build your own. Focus on your growth. Protect your mind. Choose your circle. And remember, the person you're becoming is shaped by what you do today. Watch the next video to keep building.